Hello everyone, Guillaume Lesueur here, host of the E-Commerce Wizards podcast, where I feature leaders in e-commerce and business. Today's guest is JQ Fu, who's back for a second episode with us today. He's the co-founder of two companies, this is the two, LTVplus and RecoverPayments.com. So today we'll be talking about reducing involuntary churn of e-commerce subscriptions or subscribers.
This episode is brought to you by Magento. If a business wants a powerful e-commerce online store that will increase their sales, or to move piled up inventory to free up cash reserves, or to automate business processes to reduce human processing errors, our company, Magento, can do that. We've been helping e-commerce stores for over a decade. Here's the catch. We're specialized and only work on the Adobe Magento e-commerce platform, also known as Adobe Commerce. We're among only a handful of certified companies in Canada. We do everything Magento related. If you know someone who needs design, support, training, maintenance, or a new e-commerce website, email our team at support@MageMontreal.com or go to MageMontreal.com. That's MAGE Montreal.com.
Can you tell us a little bit about those two companies, JQ?
Yeah, for sure. So LTVplus is a customer service outsourcing company. And what we do is we create a dedicated team of customer service agents, highly trained, and they're selected based on your brand's profile. So, if you have an agent that's, you have your fitness brand, the agents are generally selected because they also love fitness and they have a good background in customer service. And for Recover Payments, it is essentially a full payment recovery service and a platform where we have a platform that extracts the full payments in your system from Stripe, for example, or Recharge in this case. And we run payment recovery campaigns with human experts.
Okay, perfect. So now for our main topic here, reducing involuntary churn of subscriptions, especially for e-commerce, extremely important. It's a metric that will be used by investors or by any acquirer if you sell your company. The churn metrics, and of course, it's part of the growth. Anytime you lose customers on a subscription, well, you're not growing. It's self-obvious, but it's worth mentioning because it's a huge impact on a company's valuation. So how do you go about reducing churn?
Sure. So, that's a really big topic if I talk about churn overall, but I think that, definitely covers a lot of different aspects, but we'll dive into a very specific topic of churn, and that is involuntary churn. And when we talk about involuntary churn, we're talking about customers who have credit cards that have expired, perhaps their bank accounts or, their cards are maxed out, their cards are no longer in use, or whatever reasons that doesn't help them process their subscription. And despite follow-ups sometimes from merchants, they don't get those notices and they don't rectify the issue, and so they don't get their subscription box or whatever that was supposed to come through. So talking about that aspect of involuntary churn, statistically we have seen that at least 10% of your revenue is typically comes from involuntary churn. And so that is like a little bit of a pretty big concern, right? And this is something that businesses can consider, recovering or basically working on, because that's like low-hanging fruit for you. So when we talk about involuntary churn, what are some steps that you can consider doing, right? So first of all, do you already have dunning software in place? And when we talk about dunning, we're talking about software that, basically sends out emails, possibly SMSs that will help follow up with the customer to help ensure that they are able to pay for the next subscription, and not because they want to cancel, but they just kind of forgot about it, right? So you tell them, hey, your card was maxed out. We couldn't process this. This payment for your subscription. Could you, whatever. And so, first having that dunning software in place. Now you'll be surprised. Not a lot of, if you're using Recharge, there is a dunning feature already built into it. But you could always check it out and see how much more you can customize it to ensure that you're already following up with that. But that's only one channel that you're doing, right? The second aspect is that what other tools can you use to complement that? And so, once you've worked out the automation piece, that you're actually contacting and setting up, campaigns that spread out maybe over, 15 to 30 days, depending on what's your cycle like, right? Then that's already one of over the first part of the battle that's won, because now you have technology basically reminding your customers as to the issues, as to why they couldn't bill for the subscription. And they will naturally remember and follow up and take care of what needs to be done to continue the subscription.
What do you think about sending sort of a reminder, like your card will be charged in X amount of days as a heads up, and it will show on your statement as whatever. So you don't say, hey, what the hell is that? And you call MasterCard Visa to charge
Yeah,
back, you know?
yeah. Exactly. And I think that, that's actually a really good point. So anticipating and even contacting customers before the actual billing date, it's a very good idea, right? But you'd be surprised that not every merchant does that. It's just like, okay, let's try billing, and then, oh, it didn't work. And then, hey, just letting you know your card didn't work. And they might just send one or two emails and call it a day, but they're also not taking into consideration that, your customers are receiving a ton of emails every day. They might just miss your email, and yours might just filter under the so-called marketing or support at email, like a general email distro or whatever, and they don't get those emails. They filter those out. Maybe they have some kind of filter set up that they just skip past all these emails and they don't get them. So then the question comes, how do you tackle that? How do you tackle the issue when there's too much noise and customers miss those issues, right? Miss those reminders, right? And so that's where you can start considering having your specialists or your own agents reach out to your customers. Now you can have one person on your team to do that, just like to spend some time going through all these different customers that have failed payments and reaching out to them personally. Because if you're sending them a personalized email from GQ or Guillaume, right, or you're making you're sending an SMS from a person, or even making a phone call, right? Not a lot of people do it these days, and of course, maybe we don't capture numbers as much, but so just making a phone call and using that opportunity. As if some of you have listened to the previous episode, that I had mentioned that making that connection with the customer, that's a really good chance for you to get that payment recovered as a result.
Okay. And do you put, let's say, abandoned cart as part of that involuntary churn, or you treat that as a separate thing?
Well, I think in that sense, it's I wouldn't say involuntary churn in this case, because like with involuntary churn, we're talking about subscriptions, but with abandoned cards, that's also something that you can take the same approach. And there are obviously plenty of card abandonment recovery tools on the market, right? That will do that automatically. But also on top of that, I think it's a matter of since it's because this can go between two things. One, it could be it could be a recovery for a possible subscription. Two, it could be a possible recovery for a one-time purchase. Now, weighing the volume and of course the order value, does it make sense to also perhaps have your agent go after? Oh no, go after sounds wrong. Have your human agent contact
like, hey, Ripple man.
Yeah, give me your money, buy my stuff. No, but honestly, does it make sense for your agent to contact them and just let them know, hey, we know we have your card. Is there anything that we can help to kind of basically help them with their purchase? And perhaps they just you'd be surprised, but the question could have just been oh yeah, what's your shipping time like? And they didn't even bother to check the site. You get these questions and you just wonder how that happens, but maybe it's good feedback that needs to be placed front and center. But anyway. I think that the same strategies would work, but the only difference would be the kind of tools that you use for card abandonment recovery. That's one. Some tools do both, so you can take a look at that, and then of course, consider maybe having someone from your team reach out if it makes sense in terms of the costs, right? Because it depends on your order value as well.
Right. Okay. And in the topic of involuntary churns, very narrow topic out of reducing churn in general. Do you see any other angle that they need to think about and address?
Sure. So, I think it's also making it easy for people to what do you call that? Making it easy for people to update the subscriptions, for example, or let's say maybe even possibly changing your orders. And what do I mean by that? So, for example, let's say you have your agent call that person up and you're on the phone call with them, or even an SMS. Let's just talk about an SMS, right? And then the person might be saying hey, you know what, I actually now we're talking about maybe someone who's kind of intentional, who might not want to continue, but because they just didn't want to bother going to the website, they're too busy, So like, hey, maybe like, I've been ordering a pack of protein bars every month, every 2 months, but now I want to change the flavor. But I never like I'm not really liking the flavors there. Okay, if they want to just swap it out, maybe, like just having your agent be able to do that on the fly over SMS, that changes a lot of things, right? That basically allows you to extend the lifetime value because you've addressed the customer's need quickly over SMS. So it's kind of like customer service. The second part of that is also, the historical purchase, that like the history of your customers' purchases, right? You know what kind of products they're usually going for, what kind of flavors they like, for example, and you've developed a new taste, and this is probably a good time to say, hey, I'll change it to this for you, but can I also share with you this new product, and it doesn't cost you anything? Just try it out, let us know what you think, and so that gives you the opportunity to already share this new prototype or product with your customers. And so that also in the long term helps you reduce involuntary churn, because you're basically providing extra value. You're also thinking and personalizing the experience for your customer, because then they know that, oh wow, they actually take into consideration what I like, right? And so that's probably another example that we can go with.
Yeah, and I like your example of the expiring credit card date, because that's a risk of churn right there, because you're asking the customer to make again the decision of continuing to purchase your product. So again, back to like basic fundamentals of business, that the perceived value is very high. So it's not like it's just a nice to have as much as possible, and that there's no connection with the brand. If you can build that engagement level there so that they see it as valuable, and they will make the effort of going and updating their credit card and their profile, and hopefully it's user friendly to do that process. Otherwise, it can be a passive way of unsubscribing. You just don't give the new credit card number, and you just don't bother. If you say, well, whatever.
No, yeah, I mean that's true. But like I think every opportunity that you get to engage with the customer at any given point, I think it's always highly valuable. 100%.
Yeah. Is there anything else to cover specifically for involuntary churn?
Well, take into consideration, like I mentioned, setting out those tools for a start and test and see what sticks. What type of dunning campaigns can you run from an automation standpoint, and then following that up with agents that actually specialize in that. And I think you're pretty much it's a really good start to definitely look at. So.
All right, JQ. So if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way of doing that?
Sure. You can find me at GQ Recover Payments on LinkedIn, and pretty much the only one there as far as I can tell for now. And, feel free to reach out and we can definitely chat more.
All right. Thanks for being here today, JQ.
All right. Thanks a lot, Guillaume. You take care.